Okay, today we'll go through the chapter 4. Chapter 4, absorption costing. Absorption costing. Absorption, see? The word is absorption. Absorption means, suppose you have some water poured on your table, right? You bring some clothes, or you can say shola, put on it, and it will absorb some specific amount of fluid or liquid according to its capacity, right? Absorb. So here the term is absorption costing. Previous classes we have discussed how the direct portion of cost can be charged with a specific unit or a specific product, you can say. Direct material we have discussed, direct labor we have discussed, right? Direct labor we have discussed. So in those cases we actually charge direct portion of cost, and it is very much easy to find out what will be the direct portion of cost that should be charged with a specific finished item. Take an example. Suppose if you think about the raw material, you can find out how much raw material will be needed to manufacture this. So you can charge this easily. Then, as for example, for labor forces, you can easily find out, as for example, to manufacture these kinds of pen, 2 hours labor forces is required. So you can charge this easily, right? So these are the direct portion of cost. You can identify directly from the specific cost unit. So these are easy. But some costs are there also which are indirect portion of cost, indirect cost, right? Distribution, sales promotion, even indirect labor forces may be there. Different kinds of indirect cost is there. So end of the day, before setting up the selling price of this pen, you need to find out the total cost of manufacturing this, right? So that's why you have to focus direct cost as well as indirect cost. As the indirect costs are not directly related to the finished item, so it is very much problematic to charge indirect cost or to calculate what amount of indirect cost that should be charged with the individual unit. So this is the problem, right? But still we have to charge a specific amount of indirect cost. Some examples of indirect cost you can say, that is as for example depreciation. Machine depreciation, maybe building depreciation. Then insurance, machine insurance, building insurance, then heating, lighting. So these all are indirect costs, and you have to incur these kinds of costs to operate the business. So end of the day you have to charge this, right? So now the question is, as it is problematic to charge the indirect cost with the finished item, so what will be the process or what will be the method through which we can do this? The method is absorption costing. The logic is, suppose think about, this is the shola or a specific cloth, right? So now our task is to find out what amount of indirect cost this product will absorb from different places. See? So that's why, what do we mean by absorption costing? Absorption costing is a process to calculate the fair portion of indirect cost. The word is fair portion of indirect cost that should be charged with the finished item or product. So initially we have discussed direct cost. Now through this absorption costing you can find out the fair portion of overhead or indirect cost that should be charged with finished goods. Clear? Okay, that is all about absorption costing. So absorption costing is a process of identifying or calculating the fair portion of indirect cost that should be charged with the finished item. Clear? Okay. In doing this, you have to go through 3 sequential stages, or 3 sequential stages you can say, or you can say 3 sequential levels. If you want to find out how much indirect cost should be charged with the finished item, In that case, you have to go through this pre-sequential. Sequential means complete in one stage, only then you can shift for the next stage. And these three stages are allocation, apportionment, and last of all, OAR, or calculating overhead absorption rate. For this, to calculate this, that is OAR, overhead absorption rate by each individual product or each individual cost unit. That is OAR. So to calculate this, we have to go through these three sequential ladders or sequential ladders. Clear? Now, number one, allocation. Allocation, or you can say distribution. The another name of allocation or another synonym of allocation is distribution. There will be several types of indirect cost. That is, in the exam hall, you guys may be provided several kinds of indirect cost. Initially, charging the cost item directly to a specific center. Charging different types of cost item to a specific center is allocation. As for example, suppose I have $50. $50 I have to distribute in between 10 people. So there is a way how you can distribute that, right? Okay. So here initially allocation means that is you guys have to directly charge different types of cost item. As for example, depreciation is a cost item. Heating, lighting charge is a cost item. Right? Then different kinds of indirect costs that you have to face. So initially, allocation means directly charge or allocate or distribute the different kinds of cost item to cost unit. This cost unit may be different kinds of cost center. Clear? That is all about allocation. We'll discuss this through in some specific example or problems. Then, think an example. Suppose in a specific organization, normally organization has two different kinds of department. One is production department, another is service department. As for example, you are the manufacturer of this pen. You have production department 1, production department 2. Or you can say this is suppose assembly department, and this is suppose final production department. So there are several departments who are producing some specific goods. As a whole, they are called production department. So as for example, P1 and P2, these two are production department. And there are some service provider department also. Service providing department means these division or department actually provide service to the production department. As for example, store, warehouse. They are storing the goods and provide the goods to the production department. So the production department can operate. So store department. As for example, maintenance. Maintenance is another kind of department who are providing maintenance related service to the production department. Even a store department may take maintenance service from the maintenance department, right? So cost will be there. So as for example, these are the 4 different departments, right? So what do you mean by allocation? Initially, allocation means that is charging cost item or calculating cost item for different department, both service as well as production. এদের জন্য কি কি cost আমরা আনতে পারি? Depreciation, heating, lighting, maintenance, etc., etc., etc. This is allocation. Then the second phase is allocation and apportionment. Apportionment. In the case of apportionment, another thing I want to say, that is, you guys will be provided different kind of indirect cost. As for example, depreciation, heating, lighting charge, repair and maintenance, store, warehousing charge, then insurance. Different kinds of indirect costs will be provided. Initially, this cost should be allocated or distributed in between these 4 departments, right? As for example, suppose depreciation. These are the 4 different departments, and suppose, as for example, these 4 different departments are situated in 4 different buildings. 4 different buildings. So, depreciation 1,000. I need to charge this 1,000 into these 4 departments. So there will be some specific basis on which, or depend upon the basis, or depend upon which you can distribute this. Depreciation building normally distributed in between the cost center depend upon the floor area of the building. As for example, floor area of this building is 100 square feet. This building is 200 square feet. These are 300 and 400. So we will distribute this 1,000 depreciation charge to this building depend upon the proportion of their floor area. The building which have high floor area or voluminous floor area, that will be charged more depreciation. Clear? So we will go through different kinds of basis. Now, just before talking about apportionment, some basis I want to say. Basis. You guys have to memorize this. Depreciation, repair and maintenance, rent, depreciation, repair, maintenance, rent and rate. Then lighting. Lighting. That is, you have to spend amount, specific amount for lighting your premises, right? Lighting. So these are the different types of even insurance. So these are the different example of indirect cost. If you want to allocate or distribute these kinds of indirect costs to different center, you have to allocate these or distribute these depend upon floor area. Floor area. For building, for floor area means length into height. So it will provide you square feet, square yard, square inches, just like that. 20 square feet, or you can say square meter. So depreciation, repair and maintenance, rent, rate, lighting and insurance. Insurance for building. For building. The cost will be distributed according to their floor area. Clear? Now, depreciation, repair, rent, depreciation, repair and maintenance of machine. Initially we have discussed building. Now we will be provided depreciation, repair and maintenance and insurance. Insurance for machine. In the machine you cannot measure the floor area. Machine doesn't have floor area. But machine has some book value. Right? Book value. Some machine has huge amount of book value, some machine has lower amount of book value. So in those cases, depreciation, repair and maintenance and insurance of machine will be distributed according to the book value. book value. Clear? Okay. Then end of the day, then you guys may be provided heating. In exam, the word actually used only heating. If the word is only heating, then the heating cost will be distributed according to length into width into height. That is volume of the volume. When you are using floor area means length into width, square meter. When you are using volume, length into width into height, that is cubic meter. Right? So in the case of heating, you have to use the proportional volume of different building. When this is called lighting means only floor area. When the word is saying heating and lighting, in that case it should be volume. So these are the bases you guys have to memorize. How you can distribute different indirect cost to different department or even set of center. Is it clear? Volume. That means if the word is heating is added with lighting, then it will always volume. Okay. So what do you think? End of the allocation? Suppose you guys are providing these are different kinds of indirect cost. Initially you distribute or allocate this indirect cost to different cost center, depend upon their basis. So end of the allocation, what will you have? End of the allocation, suppose as for example P1, S and maintenance. These are the three departments. When different types of indirect costs are distributed here. So end of the allocation, you can find out your total overheads indirect in this department. Your total overheads indirect in this department. Your total overheads in this department. So we can say end of the allocation, we can find out or we can have the total indirect cost associated in a specific department or cost center, both service as well as production. But what was our objective? Our objective is to charge indirect cost in this finished item, right? So now we have indirect cost in department. See, production department is producing these kinds of items. So if I can charge all kinds of, suppose production department 1 and production department 2. So if you can find out the total overheads here and the number of produced item, suppose as for example 100, so you can easily find out how much cost will be absorbed by each individual unit, right? So our main objective is to calculate overheads in these two departments only. But still we have overheads in service department. So now our task is to distribute this service department overhead into these two production department. Clear? So which is called apportionment. What do you mean by this? Apportionment is just like the allocation process. But apportionment, in the case of apportionment or reapportionment, will distribute service department overheads to production department. As for example, suppose your production department 1, production department 2. After allocating or allocation, your production department 1 has $100 overheads. This has $150 overheads. And there are service department, store and maintenance. Store cost is $50 and maintenance cost is suppose $20. So these are the service provider department. So cost is associated there. Why? Because these two departments are providing service to this department. That's why cost is there. So we have to charge this or distribute this cost in these two production department as well. So now our task is to distribute this 50 into here and 20 here and here. This is apportionment. That is distributing service department cost to production department. So end of the apportionment and reapportionment we will discuss later on. What will you have? As for example, suppose the total overhead here is 150 and here is suppose 170. And these two departments 0, 0. Right? So end of the apportionment and reapportionment, you will have total indirect cost or overheads associated in production department. Clear? So in your exam, you guys normally provided three kinds of service department. One, store. Two, maintenance. Three, canteen, administrative, etc., etc. The cost of a store department to be apportioned or allocated in between the production department depend upon the value of material requisition by each individual production department. As for example, our production department 1, production department 2. A store department cost, suppose as for example $50. So how you have to distribute this $50 here? Depend upon the value of material requisition by each individual department. Suppose as for example, department 1, production department 1 use $100 material requisition and production department 2 use $200 material. So this $50 will be apportioned in between these two according to 1:2 proportion. Clear? So value of the store should be apportioned in between the production department depend upon the value of material requisition by the departments. Cover? He said, plastic chilo aske? Huh? Teacher aske punishment dise? Other person? ঠিক আছে। Dress change करो. Okay. Then suppose maintenance. Suppose as for example maintenance cost is $100. Right? Now the question is how this maintenance cost is be distributed in between the production department. Right? So it will be depend upon the maintenance hours being worked out by the maintenance crew for each department. Suppose the maintenance crew worked here for 20 hours and here they work for 30 hours. So depending on the maintenance hours, you can distribute their cost in between the production. Clear? Then canteen, administrative different kinds. The department who actually provides service, normally the canteen and administration, their cost will be apportioned according to number of employees. Canteen providing catering service or fooding service to different department, right? Their cost will be apportioned in between the department depend upon the number of employees they are serving. As for example, production department has 10 employees and this department has 5 employees. So canteen cost, suppose as for example $100 will be apportioned in between the department depend upon this number of employees. Clear? So these are the basis of apportioning the service department cost to production department. You guys have to remind this service department also can provide service in between themselves. See, maintenance department can use the store department, right? In that case, the store department cost should be apportioned in according in maintenance as well. So we will look forward these kinds of things in exam or mathematical problems. Clear? So end of the day, what will you have? Now you have already apportion and deportion the service department cost to production. So we have only production department overheads here. So end of the apportionment, we can find out or we can calculate the total indirect cost generated in running a specific production department. Right? As for example, suppose your production department 1, production department 2, after allocation, reapportionment, etc., etc., production department 1 has total indirect cost 1000 and 2 has total indirect cost 2000. Clear? We have calculated the total indirect cost that should be charged. Now the third phase, we have to find out OAR, overhead absorption rate by each individual cost unit, or you can say cost item. How you can find out that? This OAR equal to, here, memorize this. I'm using budgeted overhead divided by budgeted activity. Budgeted overhead means whatever the different kinds of overhead we have already discussed about, these all are actually budget. These are not actual. Because costing analysis or costing actually decision taken through budget. Then the budget actually compared to the actual at the end of the phases. But initially, all the things are budgeted. That's why these overheads calculated is budget overhead. So to calculate this OAR, you have to use always budgeted overhead, never use actual. Budget overhead. Divide by budgeted activity. What will be the budget activity? It may be number of units produced. Suppose as for example, 1000 is your budgeted cost overhead and you have produced 1000 pen. Number of pen here is the activity. So you can say $1 per unit. That means you can say each individual finished item is absorbing or will absorb. You are forecasting because you are dealing with the budget. That means you are budgeting or forecasting that each individual finished item will absorb $1. Even you can use this budget activity, maybe the labor hour, direct labor hour. Suppose as for example, direct labor work for this department in a specific month, as for example, 100 hours. So budget activity may be unit, budget activity may be direct labor hour, not indirect. Direct labor hour. So in that case, suppose as for example $10 per hour. What does it mean? That is when your direct labor forces are activating, each individual hour they will absorb $10 indirect cost. Here, that is when your direct labor forces are activating or being activated for each individual hour, they will absorb $10 indirect cost. This is budget. Clear? Or you can use this direct machine hour, as for example half an hour. Machine hour. That is to operate this production department, machine actually activated or operated 100 hours. So it will $10 per hour. What does it mean? To operate the specific department, each and every hour the machine is activating, it will absorb $10. It is budget. So budget activity may be number of units produced, direct labor hour, direct machine hour, even you can say this is the percentage of prime cost or prime cost as well. As for example, prime cost, we have already discussed earlier. Prime cost is the sum of all kinds of direct costs. Suppose your prime cost is $100. In that case, this will provide you $10. How can I say prime cost? That is, when you are using per dollar cost in the prime expense or prime cost, in every per dollar, $10 will be charged or $10 will be absorbed for indirect costs. Clear? So normally it will be, suppose as for example your total indirect cost is 10,000. So $0.1 prime cost. That means when you are charging per dollar direct cost, your indirect cost will be $0.1 against that. Clear? So your activity may be number of units produced, maybe number of direct labor hour, maybe machine hour, it may be prime cost, even it may be percentage of prime cost as well. You need to know the meaning of the end result. So end result is budget. This is budget. We are expecting that this amount of overheads or indirect cost will be charged for per unit, for per labor hour, for per machine hour, or for per dollar of direct cost. Clear? Even you can charge this direct material cost, direct labor cost as well. Clear? Then we will deal with under over absorption. Under over absorption. Budget actual. Suppose the example is just like this one. Initially budget, that is your production should be 1000 of these kinds of pen. You produce 1000 pen. This is budget. And to produce this 1000 pen, you are also forecasting that your overhead should be 1000. So by using this, you can find out where, right? We have discussed where means budget overhead divided by budgeted activity, whatever the activity you have provided. So 1000 divided by 1000 is $1 per unit. That means you are expecting in producing each individual unit, each individual unit will absorb $1. That is, it is your expectation, your budget, your forecast. Actual may not be the same, or actual may be the different. So we have to find out the under over. What do you mean by this? So you are budgeting. When you produce each individual unit will absorb $1 overhead or indirect cost. Here, in this situation, you are producing actually 100 units. So according to your expectation, how much overhead should be charged there? You are expecting to produce $100, which is called absorbed. Absorb means where into এটা দেখাচ্ছে উপরে এখানে actual activity. See what we mean by this absorbed. How much overhead you are expecting to generate in producing the actual unit. So you are expecting $1 per unit and actually producing 800 units. So your 1 into 800 is 800. So absorb means according to your expectation, or you are expecting to produce the actual 800 unit 800 indirect cost, right? But actual cost you guys are provided. Actual overhead was something different, 700. So what do you mean by this? You are expecting 800 maybe the cost, expecting. But actual cost is, end of the day, 700. That means your expectation was 100 over than your actual. This is called over. So under over means whether your expectation is under or over than the actual. So if you guys provided actual upper and absorb lesser, it doesn't mean any kinds of things. You have to compare the absorb is under or over than actual. That is the comparison. Clear? So as for example, suppose actual cost is 600, absorb is 700. What we can say? Absorb means our expectation. Our expectation is 100 more than the actual, that is over absorb 100. Same things. Or if you guys are provided actual is 600 and absorb is 500. In that case, your expectation was 100 under than the actual. Here, this is under or over. Then, so this is all about the conceptual part of this chapter. Now we will go through the mathematical part of this chapter. Yeah? Okay.